all we need is a little change of perspective. Welcome back to the studio. My name is Claire Luxton, and for those of you who don't know me, I have been a full-time contemporary artist for around the last 8 to 9 years, ever since I decided to throw caution to the wind, quit my job in London, haul my family, my husband and my dog to the English countryside to pursue my dream life and dream career. So as you can imagine, I have been through the highest highs, the lowest lows. I have made all of the mistakes and then some. So hopefully in this updated 2025 Q&A, I've been collecting all of your questions. Hopefully I can shed some light, ungatekeep some of this art world and art community, and hopefully inspire and share my mistakes so you don't have to make the same ones. One of the questions I'm going to be covering that I get so frequently is, I think, overcoming artist block and how to stay inspired. Where do I get my inspiration? How do you keep inspiration? And we're going to be covering that today. So I've collated all of your questions from across all of my social platforms. Let's dive right in. How do you start an art career? I get this question a lot, and honestly, there is no one way, no perfect route, no one size fits all. Every artist's journey is different, and in my opinion, that's exactly how it should be. So to be more specific, Mohammed has asked, when did you start this journey and what made you start? So factually, I started my art career around 9 years ago when I left my full-time job in London after previously doing a fine art degree at Goldsmiths University. But in truth, it really started long before that. My mum says that I was an artist out of the womb, and growing up, I spent days in sketchbooks in silence, late nights pondering on ideas that wouldn't leave me alone. At first, I didn't have any contacts or connections in the art world, no roadmap, no guarantees, but I just had this energy and quiet belief and knowing that I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't try. The career part honestly came when I stopped waiting for permission and started treating my creativity like it mattered. It looked like making work when no one was watching, honestly sharing it before it felt ready, saying yes to small things and letting them lead somewhere bigger. I think it's so important to nurture the relationships you build when you're working for yourself, as you never know where those connections might lead in the future. And one thing I will say is, if art isn't your real passion, this path can be difficult. It takes a lot from you, not just in time and energy, but your emotions, your resilience on the hard days, your belief in yourself. But if it is your passion, it does give back in ways nothing else can. So if you're wondering where to start where you are. There is no perfect time. Make something, share it, trust that even this smallest step counts. And remember, your path doesn't look like everyone else's, and I really think that's the point. The footage that you're watching now is actually from behind the scenes of the install of my most recent immersive exhibition at Frameless in London. And if I've learned anything, it's this: if you want to build an art career, you have to build it from the inside out. You have to let it take up space in your life, real space, emotional space, even when you feel unclear about things. It's not about an overnight success. It's about showing up long enough to recognize your own voice when it starts to speak back. This exhibition for me felt like a turning point, seeing my artworks transformed into a full-scale immersive experience surrounded by music and my poetry and life. It was proof to me that I should trust in my personal vision, and it one day can take up an entire room. So as many of you will know, a big part of my practice is my self-portraiture, and I had quite a few questions asking me about the process, how I shoot my portraits, do I shoot my own portraits, the different cameras that I use. And I actually think I'm going to make a separate video on this topic because it is very detailed and it is a complicated process, and I really wouldn't want to give an abridged version. Top line is, yes, I shoot all of my portraits myself. It's normally only me in a room. This was an exception for a specific project, but behind closed doors, it's just me and a camera and my imagination, and I will share all in a video very soon. Now, Photographo asks, what has been your driving force to continue believing in what you do? And I think this is a really important one because it covers an umbrella of topics to do with staying inspired, artist burnout, creative block, and people often ask me, what keeps me going? How have I managed to believe in my work year after year? And the honest answer is the line is not linear. I don't always feel consistently the same way I do in my work. There have been many points where I've questioned everything, the pressure, the silence, the moments where I've felt really disconnected from what it is that I'm making, and burnout has been something real that I've experienced. There were times where I really just didn't feel like I could make. I felt completely drained, not just tired, but empty creatively. And I think most artists will hit this place at some point to some degree, especially if your work is asking something very deep and personal from you. So what keeps me going is a constant belief. This is something that I don't know how not to do, and what I've learned is to return to process. For me, staying inspired is less about the big dramatic moments and more about tiny rituals that tether me back to myself. Reading, walking, thinking, observing light, paying attention to nature, giving myself permission to rest, to feel, to play, and to not always have to produce. Because when you're constantly trying to create, when you're not feeling creative, it's easy to forget why you started, to forget process. And if you don't give yourself space to breathe, you start to feel like everything's noisy. Well, especially I do. What I've learned is that you can't just white knuckle your way through burnout. You can't create your best work from a place of depletion. We are sponges soaking up life and energy so we can then wring it out and create. But at some point we need to have time to refill up the sponge. And I don't think you can force yourself to believe. You slowly build it by showing up for yourself, even when things are quiet, even when you feel quiet. I think inspiration comes from within when we allow the external to come in. And when I forget to take time to pause and appreciate, I look back at moments where I have felt things deeply, where I've interacted, because no path is perfect, and actually when it feels more real, I think we create more deeply. So I don't always believe in every single piece of work I make all the time, but I believe in the process, I believe in what it gives, I believe in the conversation, I believe in what it asks, and I keep going because I know how to do nothing else, and I've seen what's possible when I do. Yusuf asks, how do you succeed in social media? Social media is a really interesting topic for me. I think it is simultaneously amazing for artists and their exposure and their right to share their work, but I also think it can be destructive at the same time. Interestingly, all throughout my education and university, I had no social media. I didn't want to partake in it. I thought it was really good for my mental health. I just stuck to different types of media like books and cinema and records and theatre and nature, all of the things that by now you'll know I absolutely adore. I think social media has such power in our lives now, and it has this amazing way to connect us all. I'm a massive fan of long form content, and I think honestly if you show up with authenticity, it can be such a powerful tool to communicate, to get your artwork out there. But at the same time, I think the slow way that comparison can creep into our minds is really unhealthy. I think this kind of short attention span and the way in which we're kind of bombarded with things isn't really that healthy for a creative mind. I think it's really important to set your own boundaries and know what works and doesn't work for you. In essence, have a detox from certain elements. There's an amazing book called Visual Detox, which talks about these different boundaries by Maureen Tongi, and it really sets a very interesting precedent about the amount of visuals that we're served every day and being really aware of the visuals that we receive. I really could talk about social media for days, and I think there are so many benefits for artists, but sometimes I think knowing how to use it so that it is beneficial to your creativity and to your business and to your inspiration versus just constantly being attached to our phones is a really important boundary to set and understand. In terms of my success, I'm air quoting here, on social media, I would say that I am a perfectionist. I don't like churning out content. I'm not a content creator. I'm still at heart a fine artist, but I do spend time to curate my platforms so that I feel everything is cohesive with the narrative and the voice that I have as an artist, and I try to show up for myself and my work. So Liz has asked, tell us more about your Adobe Max talk. These clips you're about to see are from last year at Adobe Max Miami. This year Max is being held in LA, and I'm actually hosting a session. It's my first America session talk, and I'm really excited about it. All I will say is, if you're fascinated by my editing process, how I create my portraits, anything to do with Photoshop, then this is something that you should definitely check out. You can still sign up online, or you can come in person. I would love to meet you all. Oh, well, thank you for joining me for today's Q&A. I hope you found some nuggets of help or interest or just pure curiosity today. If you have any further questions about anything I covered, please leave it in the comments section. I would love to have a further discussion with you there. And I think that these are things that we all go through and questions that we all have, and things that I really did have to learn the hard way. So if we can help each other, I think that's a massive step in the right direction. Thank you for joining me again on Thursday. You did get a bonus video this week on Tuesday though. It's a little field notes series that I'm trialing, so I would love if you could watch that and let me know what you thought. I had a whimsical idea and I thought I would try it out, so I did. Anyway, enough of my rambling. Thank you for being here on a Thursday, and I will see you again next week. Okay, bye.